Start recording. All right. Morgan Barker is our moderator for today's session. Do you want to say hello and get things started?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Wonderful. I'm Sue Armitage. I'm an instructional designer here in the Center for Teaching and Learning, and I am a big fan of interactive content. I think it's incredibly valuable for people to find things. There's so much more power in finding than being handed something. So let's get started. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and let's begin and hit present. All right, today we are specifically going to be talking about H5P, which is an online tool for creating interactive learning. There's a free version, and there's also a version that the library and CTL have collaborated in providing for folks. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But it's something that's available to everybody and can be used in Canvas courses and websites. So our goals for today. So let's talk about and really think about those things that combine in ways that make for engagement with students. So you would pick the text, images, audio, video, and have lots of choices and ways to combine them that is fun and engaging and really helps promote learning. And definitely another goal is having some fun today. I found this slide set with all these nice bright colors yesterday because I was really needing that, and I thought it would help give a little push to thinking about what we're doing. So our objectives. So let's make sure we have a pedagogical base to understand discovery and interactive pedagogy, because this is what it's all about. You want to create sticky learning, and inquiry and action really can lead to that retention in learning and creating additional thinking. And so we also want to really think about that space in between what sometimes can be direct instruction and formal assessment. And we want to look at that space in between and create that opportunity for play and practice and thinking more broadly, but creating that space very purposefully. And that's what these H5P interactives can do for us. And I also want to make sure that you come away with a sense that you're interested in doing these things and that you know that you can apply them right away. So interactives can be used to promote instructional intent of both creating knowledge and have them be applications. So you can actually provide instruction through an interactive. You don't have to just think it's a play place. You can provide instruction and content directly that way. And we're going to show you that shortly. You can also reinforce really key ideas, key concepts. I mean, all of these things you could just put down in text and put it on a page or something, but it's far more memorable when people get to do something with it. So you can reinforce ideas in a way that is engaging. And you can also prepare students for graded activities. And so you can just prepare them throughout instruction so that they have practice with content and they're ready to go for summative or formative instruction. Okay, this is where we're first going to go to a place to play with this stuff. And so Morgan has put into the chat links for both links. Please go to this one, the ctl.humboldt.edu content H5P examples. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and go to that page myself. All right, do you guys have it open? This page? Okay. Actually, I will share my screen again. Here we go. So this shows that you can just put it on, an HSU page. And these are examples that have been developed over time. This first one, and please go ahead and play. You are welcome to, while I'm talking, to just drag and drop and do all the things and answer questions as we go. But also, let me just tell you about this first one. This was actually called How to Talk Humboldt. The OEP program in their orientation Canvas course wanted to help prepare students to know a little bit about HSU, a little acculturation. And so the instructions, it's a little glitch in here, but the idea is it tells you, drag the words in the gray boxes to the correct blue ones. So Humboldt County is Humco, and so I hope you guys are just going ahead and playing with this. And it's HSU, hills, stairs, and umbrellas. There are two that are kind of close, and so you have to actually think about what's the difference. In a way, it's just that social justice and sustainability are described, and what things you use as tools for those various things. And even though I've only got two here, I'm just going to go ahead and click check. And there's that feedback. Try again. Get ready for life among the redwoods. And the very important retry button, so I can try it again. So all of these, this demonstrates two really components of interactives. And well, there's several. Thinking ahead, what's your content? Make sure you have text right. And then how students can play with it. But feedback is so important. So it's always an instructional activity that you learn from getting it right and getting it wrong. Feedback is essential. You can do per question, and then sometimes you can also give feedback for a whole activity. So this second one here, the second block has 5 questions. You can see from here. This is from the TRIO talent search and gear up class. They have a very impressive 4-year curriculum to help high school students get ready. And these are used, they call them check your knowledge to help. So it's just constant. They are included throughout the course. So they get some knowledge and then they figure out, do you have the knowledge or are you applying it correctly? So you have hundreds of options. True, check. Yes, you do. You can go on to the second one. Everyone should follow the same path. True. And I'll check it. To give you an example of the feedback that's really important to provide when students get a question wrong. Then down below, this is, you played this before, I forget what this is called. But the idea here, I'm trying to match, it's this one and that one. So here's the feedback. It looks like this in this particular interactive. And you get timed. You see how fast you can be. Oh, there's my transfer credits. The emphasized information of what they really want students to know about all these things. Where's advising? Oh. So I hope you notice what I'm going through, and I hope you're doing it too. It's this feeling is like, ooh, I want to get this. It's a challenge. It's just like, no one's looking, but how well can I do in this? I'm going to do this till I get it all right. And that's one of the really fun, exciting things about interactives is just, it creates that space for humans to want to, go out, to be active, to figure things out and do it right. Humans are very competitive that way. And now a quick look at presentation. That's what this is, the solar system. This was created by Morgan and my colleague, Becky Williams. And you can see it's text, images, sense of movement, there's good stuff. And then here with the little circle, you can see there's a check-in. So it's called a summary. So you pick the right one. Planets in orbit around the sun. And so there you go. It tells me I got 2 right, but 1 wrong. And I can keep going. And so there are videos, images, it keeps going. Go ahead, put those in right statement. And at the end, there's a final check-in. So that's called the presentation tool. And then this last one is a video that's put in the H5P video player. Enoch and I have been making these faculty stories, and we met with Sally Hang in psychology, and she was talking about specs grading. And so this is just an example of how you can pick a video and then it will stop, it will pause. If you, at that spot, you choose. And she's talking about assumed knowledge for students. And this is a multiple answer question. And my X, Y's, and Z's, I didn't fill out the full feedback, but that's the point. I just didn't type it all in. I just wanted to come up with a demonstration of how that works. And who doesn't like getting a little bright star when you get things right? It's just this instant feedback where people are like, okay, that's cool. And then this last one is a summary. So after students have read all these things, I just added this question this morning. Wrong. Finally, yes, but I didn't get too much. And it gives you the answer in this video player of the scores. All right. So these are just examples of what I want to show you more about. So you get a sense of what you can create. Morgan, are there any questions we should look into right now? They're in the chat.
Good question, Sue. You've got a lot of high fives that it's cool stuff that you're showing there. And then an interesting one here, Marcy, I think this is a great comment, that you find you don't really read the explanations once you get the match in the matching section. So that would be a good question, I think, as far as the integration and the methodology that you're using, the information that you're presenting to the students, Sue.
Oh, totally agree. Yeah, humans do that. We just sort of slide over instructions. So that's that challenge to create that context for the students. And Marcy, I see you have a question about the responses, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, back to our presentation. The whole point is to mix things up, to use text and images and audio and video in ways that the students will encounter new things. So the point is to get out of a rut, but really look to those universal design for learning, UDL, the intention of UDL, and that's presentation, interaction, engagement. The whole point is to figure out what have you got and how do you present it in different ways for students to reach out and try to engage with it.
And you've got one real quick one here, Sue, which I bet you have a quick answer to. Is there a way to have matching where the same answer could be used more than one time?
I think so, because you're always telling H5P what the question is and what the answer is. So, but if you have tulips 4 times though, I'm not sure the question is really gets you to the point where you want to be in asking a question. But we'll get there. When we look more at the options, when we're at the H5P site. So I just want to emphasize feedback and how essential it is for correct and incorrect answers and for the whole activity. And just to celebrate the repeat button, because the whole idea is you try something, and if you didn't get everything right, you do it again. It's a little time on task. It's that, gets that human nature of, I want to be right about this. And sometimes I also like to be really fast, and there are ways to track how long it takes. Okay, time for more play. So this is now the second URL that Morgan provided. Go here. So you got this link. Whoops, no, this one. All right, okay, we're in h5p.org and it's examples. So this will be fun. So this explains to you all of the different types of interactives that they have structured and and are available for you to use. So we saw already their interactive video. That one was Sally Hang about flex grading. So the whole idea is students just don't sit, turn a video on and be passive. Don't engage with that at all. We also saw the course presentation, which was Becky's about the planets. And so you have lots of options for a lot of different content types there. Branching, just want to point out, I think this would be so interesting. So this is a nice opportunity for application. If you have a scenario, an initial prompt, and then what do you do with it? You've got these 3 blue buttons for opportunities for responses, and then from there you have additional questions and other choices. So you can create fairly extensive branching, and then hit the reset button once you understand the implications of making those choices, and then you figure out, oh, what if I made this choice in the very beginning? So that's a fantastic interactive opportunity. So you can see there's all kinds of ways to display images. We looked at drag the words, that was the EOP one. Multiple hotspots, let's look in here. Let me point out that for each of these, they provide information about it and describe how it's supposed to be used. So if we find the vegetables, I know broccoli's a vegetable. What about, so there you go. There's my feedback. No, the bell pepper is actually a fruit. So you build in all those opportunities. So these are just really nice little examples that H5P provides to explain them. Image juxtaposition. I love this one. I think this is so cool. So say you have 2 images. So here's land. Here's the same land, but this is that land. If it's a flood plain, this is what looks like flooded. This is what's like not flooded. So you have opportunities to. So yeah, you could have images side by side, but it's a whole lot more interesting to change the view of the nature of what you're looking at. So if we've got light here, it's the same thing you're looking at, but different ways. So I'm pretty enthusiastic about that one. And you can also see there's multiple choice. Oh, here's the memory game. That's what we were playing before. They have question sets, single choice. I know you can also do multiple answer. We saw that one in Sally's video. Timeline is fun, true, false. Visual, here, let's do. If you have some 360 video that's available, you can put it right in H5P. You can make a hotspot, go and find out there. So you identify where you want the hotspot to be and what you want that hotspot to display. So you have a lot of options about how you want to present content, where you want students to choose to go to find out more information that could lead them to other questions. Well, what happens over there? So they might want to pull up a map, they might want to Google what it is you're showing, so they can pursue their own interests now that you've sparked.
Sue, can I ask a question? I don't see that when I'm looking at the link.
I'm sorry.
I don't see the page you're looking at. I see examples and downloads, but I don't see all these different things there.
Okay.
Why am I not seeing that? Oh, I think it's showing it in a different presentation. Never mind. Sorry.
All right. So, but say now that you're psyched, you've got a great idea, you want to try it out. From H5P, you can go in the upper right hand corner and there's a free account. It's very easy to create one. I'm going to go ahead and log in so I can show you a bit about what it takes to create one. And these show, it's like, here's all of them. I've made a whole bunch. But to make a new one, I click on, so this top left-hand corner, contents, and create new content. So from here is where I've got the choice to actually pick the one that I want to do. And you could do popular, newest, A to Z. If I clicked on drag the words, which is that first one, that how to talk Humboldt, this is what it looks like on our side to create it. And when you see a red asterisk, that tells that you need to fill it. So you need to fill this text field with the title of it and a description. So they have in here the just sort of default text. I changed it, if you remember, to a reference to the gray box and the blue boxes, because I saw that's how it's done. But here, this Oslo, this is also just introductory text that shows how you need to do it. So they tell you that if you put asterisks around the term that you want dropped, that's how it will display. So it's really nice that they show you how things are to be formatted. So if the term is in between two asterisks, that's the box that will be dragged and dropped. So you just do all of these words in the order that you want. But I do want to point out or let you know that each display is randomly generated. The terms that get dragged to will stay in the same order, but the order of the terms to be dragged vary according to each use of it. So not everybody gets the same thing, or when they hit the repeat button, it will be different. Under feedback, as we're talking about, so you can make this, if I want to do 0 to 80, give the feedback there, and then automatically here's 81 to 100 and give the feedback there. So that's how you get to decide the feedback that they get for their success in whole activity. And then under behavioral settings, there's that retry button, and I encourage that to be checked. I have different thoughts about the show solution if you want students to always just be given that, but that's up to you. And then under text and overrides, I'm gonna click again under drag text. This is where you have a lot of choices, and accessibility issues are addressed down here that are built in, especially for screen readers. So you have choices and how you want to have that set up. And then you would just save it and then be able to view your beautiful creation. I'm going to go back out and, well, here's the EOP one. But to let you know, then, so once you go back and forth between view and edit to make sure it looks and functions just as you would like it to. Oh, here's HSU library. It's the best part of, no, it's the best place to study with friends. And rainy days, we stay in bed, and final exams are the best part of the semester.
Sue, I know you might be at a good point to talk about the 2 questions that have come in. Is that okay? Okay. The first question was about accessibility. How accessible are these? And then the second question, which definitely relates to it, is how do you get your content into Canvas?
Exactly. So
yeah.
Let me do that second one first. So once you have created your beautiful interactive click down here, sort of lower left of the interactive to embed. And you want to grab this code, this iframe code. So I'm just going to select all, copy, and then go to course. And I have one open here just a moment. This is for the new nursing program that Morgan and I and others are working on with Kim Paris. It's empty at the moment. So I'm just going to create a new page because I'm on pages. Create a new page. I'm just going to call it Practice H5P. And in the box that probably most of us are pretty familiar with, we're now going to collect this rich content editor. I'm going to click HTML editor, click in the box, and now paste that iframe that I captured from H5P, gone to Canvas. It doesn't look like much, but if I say, oh, there it is. It just took a moment to display. So here is our beautiful interactive that we created in H5P and put on a Canvas page. Does that make sense? Okay. And you can also do the same thing when you capture that embed code and you go to an HSU web page, which is made in Drupal, and Drupal has a way to insert iframes on a content page. So those are the two uses. So you can do fun things for, you know, a department, you know, for library. You just build them right in. You just put them right on the page.
And as you're on pages, Sue, you've got a question here that, and I assume this too, that you can put multiples of these on a single page. And
Absolutely.
yes, this does work for every type of content that H5P has available.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. And then the other question was the student side. Do students have access to creating this and embedding them into student publications or other content types?
That is such a good question. We don't at the moment. Everybody in the world can create an h5p.org account, but people did that for a couple years, and then the h5p.org servers just crashed because there was just so many interactives just left on a server, and people sending users to their servers, and so they were just overwhelmed. So that's why they created, oh, here, let me go back to this, because it tells you H5P is only for, .org is only for Tray, not H5P. So they created another one, h5p.com. The library and CTL share licenses to this, but not students. But if we really keep up with remote learning, maybe we should revisit our license. I don't know, but it's really a good thing. I mean, why wouldn't people want to do this? This is fun for students, because like that would be so exciting if they made them for each other. If they, you know, this could be individual, group assignments. It's always so powerful when students contribute content and ways of thinking and questions they've had about their coursework. I mean, that's the really exciting stuff. But say that you instructors or any staff members want to create H5Ps, please contact us in a CTL or library, and we can help get you set up so you create these interactives on the .com side where they'll be safe and the servers won't crash. So we would really like to work with people individually and make sure that their content is safe and preserved.
And then I think the other question, Sue, was accessibility issues.
Accessibility. I wish I could go straight to this link, but H5P, because they have a nice list of, here it is. Okay, content type accessibility. It does provide information about and recognition that for some reason the Agamotto is not okay with accessibility. Most of these are green, and they can tell you what they're working on. So I know that this is very important to H5P, and it will continue to work on making content types accessible. So this is a useful reference for folks to go to check out the accessibility of the content. Oh, thank you, Cyril, for adding that in the chat. Oh, we're over time. I'm so sorry, everybody. But let me just finish up so quickly. And that's one of the things we were just talking about. You can use your own content, but if you're using additional content by others, like OERs or TED Talks or something, you might find that you would like students to consider challenges, add different perspectives, priorities. Morgan, would you like to say anything about OERs and what HSU is doing, how H5P can support
Sure.
OER use?
Right. Yeah. OERs, even any type of content really could be supplemented with H5P, but OERs are special consideration in getting those affordable learning solutions to students, lower cost textbooks, other curated content. And just in the ways that Sue described, there's a multitude of integration options.
Yeah.
And you can contact Kyle Morgan in the library. You can contact me and we can help you out with those kinds.
Yes, excellent, thank you. There are limits to H5P, as we just addressed accessibility. The interface, you can't control font types or colors. It's when you try to get a little more creative on those things, it's frustrating because they're locked down. And even though it looks like there's a bunch of activities available, it's still limited, and you can't just freelance and create other stuff. Oh, Morgan, there was one other thing about the OER hub that H5P is working on creating.
Good question, and thank you. Cyril just posted a link for that where you can see OER and H5P.
Yay, thank you, Cyril.
Click on that link, and then yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's just,
and we've got one more. It would be, because they're awesome. I've got a great question here too, specifically going back to quizzes and looking at another tool we've got, Camtasia. Can you briefly talk about quizzes, Sue? And do you have to record something specially for H5P, or can you use existing Camtasia videos?
You can definitely use existing Camtasia videos. You can use videos from any source in H5P. That's really quite a good use for it, in fact. I think that's it. Yeah, Amy is interested in Camtasia. Yeah, make your own and just put them in where you'd like. Insert quiz option. Well, I would use H5P for quizzing, actually, as opposed to the Camtasia one, because you have to use Camtasia's video player itself. Like when you do output in Camtasia, you can just pick MP4 straight up and load it up to YouTube and then reference that in H5P versus using Camtasia's own player. They have a proprietary one that's required for using the quiz function. Okay. And we talked about this last slide, the difference between .org and .com. Look through .org, check things out, create a free account. But when you're really serious, you want to create some, please contact us or a librarian, and we can get you set up. So thank you all for your interest. I hope this was fun and colorful and playful. If you have any questions, here's my my email address. Morgan and I share an office when we're actually allowed to be in our office. And so we really welcome anybody to stop by with questions. But we'd really love to work with you and help you explore things and get pretty excited about the opportunity. All right, so I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. Anything else you think is it? Or any other thing?
Sue, just one last question. Where do the responses download so that if you have an assignment, you can actually easily see all the submissions?
Marcy, thank you for asking that. It's a really good question. And it's one of the new features in H5P that I didn't get around to. And that is that it now has an LTI, which is just a little piece of software that goes in between software programs. So using an LTI, student responses can be transferred into Canvas. So you can use it to track student responses as they finish an H5P, and you can see it in the grade book.
Would you see it in the speed grader then?
I think so.
Oh, great.
No one has taken us up on this challenge yet of wanting to try it.
Oh,
I'd love for you folks to say, okay, let's do this. Also think about the nature of the tools. I mean, Canvas is really good on quizzing when you're really going to track what students do. H5P can be just integrated as part of just that whole learning process, where it's just constantly information, challenge, application. Here's content, what do you do with it? So I like that sort of movement amongst instruction that's supplemented with H5Ps. Instead of H5Ps always seen as a graded activity, because it sort of steps students into loving learning for its own process. It's just whole engagement instead of like everything where you play and practice with something is going to get graded. So that's just something to really think about your instructional intent, your content, where are you going in a class. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Well, I think we're good. I'm going to turn the recording off and we'll close down. And thank you for joining us today. And please let us know when you have questions and are ready to get going. I'd be intrigued to see what you guys come up with. So thank you very much, and we'll see you later.